Hi everyone, welcome to our GrowCast show. This is episode 112. My name is Yu Hong and I'll be the host for today. And today in our studio, we have Sean, founder of Leadership Maverick. Let's get to our questions. What first made you realize that leadership isn't just for people with titles?
So I think it hit me that day when I stopped waiting for someone to fix things. So I remember when I was much younger in my career, one particular project that was stuck. Our team, we were waiting for directions from above, which never came. It's that frustration, that feeling that you know all of us are capable, but yet we're unable to progress. Can't move forward, yeah? So what I did was I aligned the team basically with our own initiative. Of course, that back then was a bit courageous. I didn't know what would happen, with the management. Would they come back down again if we do something wrong? But we did it anyway. What really surprised me was how the team really responded when we had alignment. Things started to move. Project came to a successful end. And management actually didn't even mention or didn't came back down and say that we did the wrong thing. They were very happy with the result. Yeah. So that experience really made me realize something. Leadership is really not a role that you have or a title that waiting for the king to have bestowed on you. It's really responsibility that you choose to take on.
How did your experience as a pilot influence the way you view leadership and how you make decisions?
In the flight deck, decision making are a constant. However, none of these decisions are made alone. Normally with agreement with the other guy, right? So we really learn to read other people under pressure and at the same time listen without ego. And that's really important because at the end of the day, there's this balance between confidence and humility. So it reminds me that leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's really about creating the environment where everybody feels safe to contribute and eventually arrive at a safer decision.
Was there a moment in your career where it really makes you feel like, okay, this is what leadership really means?
Yes, there was. I received a message from a former crew I worked with during our earlier days of flying. So she reminded me of a conversation that we had immediately after a very difficult flight. Yeah, so she felt that she wasn't cut out for the job. So I reminded her that she don't need to be perfect. Yeah, all she need to be was to be dependable. And she remembered it for years. So she came back to me now and basically updated her status. And that really gave her the strength to continue. And eventually today she's a senior trainer. So really leadership is that quiet moment that you sometimes didn't even realize, okay, that it took place. So it's about instilling that confidence and to let someone else find belief in themselves long after you left the room.
There's a lot of leadership theories out there. How do you turn all these ideas and theories into practical steps for professionals to use in their daily life?
I went through a stage where I read almost anything about leadership. I was quite obsessed with it, hundreds of books, Then I actually went through a postgraduate course and that led me to read even more journals on leadership. And I realized that at some point, that inspiration and motivating theories doesn't make managing a team or leading a team on Monday any easier. So leadership, it only becomes real when you have something at stake. So I've seen many examples from financial advisors and property agents. They grew up the hierarchy through being top sales. Very good at what they do. But the moment they start to lead a team, then the promotion literally put them right at the spot where they have no idea what they're doing now. Managing team and leading people are two different things, right? So they may be very good at managing tasks, at managing appointments, or even manage a schedule for their team members, but you can fail at leading people. So I put together a framework to help make leadership become practical, where professionals can immediately use these toolkits, I call, to help them develop, and actually to sell their brand and at the same time retain talent so they don't lose their team members, which is very importantly their income.
So Sean, what drives you to specifically focus on mid-career professionals instead of like senior executives or young professionals?
So midlife professionals sit at a very interesting crossroad. They fully capable and they've been around long enough to know the system. However, when it comes to promotion, they are often overlooked. So I remember this lady that I met years ago. She told me specifically this: I trained the person who literally got promoted over me. So it hit me at that point of time that, hey, this group of people, this midlife, mid-career professionals are the ones that is carrying the weight and burden of the organization. At the same time, they are loyal, they are respected, but yet unseen, unheard, and not being considered for leadership roles and position. So this is where I think this group of people, where the real potential is, right? Through leadership, I want to help them rediscover the influence that they already have.
You often say that leadership is not a title, a skill, nor a trait. What does that really mean to you?
So it means leadership is really not something you are born with. Okay, it's a responsibility you actively choose to take on. Titles give you authority. Skills give you competency. And traits is your personality, right? It describes your personality. But none of this automatically make you a leader. I've met people with impressive titles, but who has never ever been successful at leading people, while others who have absolutely no titles but been quietly moving mountains. So leadership is really about presence, the ability to influence how people think, act, and feel for the better. Is a conscious act. Yeah, it's a decision that you take on, a cap that you take on to show up, to take ownership and to create movement wherever you are. And that is where I draw the line between managing and leadership, right? Managing is really about control and processes, whereas leadership is about vision, influence, and aligning directions to your team. So I often tell professionals that don't just manage, start leading. That's where growth, trust, and real change begin.
What is the core mission behind your leadership bootcamp, and what kind of transformation do you hope participants will experience after they went through that?
So the heart of the bootcamp is really simple: to help people stop waiting for a title before they decide to start leading. So most professionals already have the capability and ability, right? But somewhere along the line, they lose the confidence in their influence. My goal is really to help them rediscover. In the bootcamp, we strip leadership down to what really works. The three things that we want to talk about here is clarity, communications, and being present. No long lectures, no theory, boring sessions. It's all hands-on, reflective, and real. So when people come in thinking that leadership is about authority, they walk out realizing that it's actually about ownership. So when my participants says this after the session, I didn't just came here to learn about leadership. I became a leader. That's when I know the bootcamp is successful.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about leadership training?
So leadership workshop don't actually create leader. They just create awareness. And awareness without application doesn't change anything. Leadership isn't something that you can learn or gain within a 1 or 2 day session. Right? It's really something that you create an awareness. Then after that, you go on to practice it in real situation. Right? You observe and you reflect on it, and someone will come back to you and give you feedback, and it's a continuous process of reiteration and improvement. So a single bootcamp gives you the tools and the language to communicate with. But what sustains the change is the community, right? Being surrounded by others who are also leading and experimenting and learning together. So it's a doorway. Once you join and you're part of a community that keeps evolving, with discussion, mentoring, and also new insights being shared long after the session has ended, you'll find that the real power is not just what you learn in the bootcamp, but what you continue to develop over a period of time afterwards. And this is where leadership truly compounds and you see the change in your life.
Some people think that leadership is something that can't be taught, that you either have it or you don't. What do you say to them?
I understand why people say that. They often confuse leadership with personality. You're not born with leadership. Leadership is not a personality trait. Neither is it a single skill set. What it is really leadership is really a container term. It's a collective set of skill sets. We have a combination, have you not, about awareness, growth, mindset, communication, empathy, influence, decision making, what have you not. It's a huge collective basket of a skill set. So it's not a single skill set. It's about developing that awareness in you, that leadership already resides in you, and to convey the energy out. We call it a signal. That's the most modern definition, or we try to explain what leadership is. That signal that you have in trying to motivate and influence people to be a better version of themselves. I've seen people who thought that they were not leader material, but later on they grew to become powerful, incredible influencers in their field. It is so powerful that by activating that power of influence that you have in you, can achieve so much. It's incredible. Leadership can absolutely be developed, but it takes practice, humility, and consistency in your life.
Many mid-career professionals feel that leadership is only for maybe managers or people at the top. How do you address that belief?
Yeah, so that belief is exactly what keeps many talented professionals stuck in where they are now. Leadership development isn't just for people who have the title or the role or they need to manage a team, right? It's really for anyone who wants to create impact and move things forward, taking the initiative ahead. Some of the most influential people that I know in an organization don't have titles. They really do have that silent thing that, the presence we call influence, yeah? They are the ones that people trust, they turn to when they have difficulties and follow, even without having a title. That's why I tell people to start early in the leadership game as soon as possible. Yeah, leadership qualities take time to develop. It takes an even longer time to demonstrate it. And slowly, people will recognize the leadership qualities in you, that signal that you are sending out eventually. It's those small little consistent action that builds up this signal. Right? They say that, hey, I'm actually a leader in some way, And this reputation that you build, you don't ever think about it too much, This reputation that you build, it actually benefits more than you think you know. Because the network of future leaders that you grow with will open doors way before you are even there. So like I say, to learn faster, to see ahead, and then you must position yourself in a game. It's a long runway. The earlier the start, the better it is for you in the leadership journey.
Some people say that I'm too busy for another leadership course. What do you say to people like that?
So I will usually smile and say to them, you are absolutely right. Maybe stop being busy doing the same thing for the next 10 years. It's funny, but it's true. Because if you are too busy to learn leadership, then perhaps it's because you are too busy firefighting. Then eventually when you realize, hey, I need to start developing, this part of my life, then you still have to address the same issue. But the only difference is, now this time around, you'll be more committed in your life, more commitments you have, you're under pressure and you have less energy. If you really want to get off that treadmill, that rat race that you see yourself constantly being busy with, you should consider, leadership isn't just another session that is taking up time in your calendar. It's really a session which helps you to activate the realization that it is your mindset, a clarity that will only be formed after going through the course. With the right focus and the right mindset, you'll realize The busiest people don't need more time. All they need is more clarity. So I assure you, yes, if you are busy and you don't have the time to learn to lead, then you'll always be busy for all the wrong reasons.
What would you say to someone who has attended some form of leadership workshops before, but they feel like nothing really changed after that?
I understand where they come from. That happens a lot of time. Many workshops are designed to inspire and not to transform. So you walk away with all these theories that you have, thinking, how can this help me in running my team on Monday? What really does it mean? It doesn't. Leadership doesn't change in 3 days, right? It starts here, right? In the boot camp, we equip you with the tools, the toolkits, the communication toolkits, and most importantly, the vocabulary we speak, so that as you join the community, giants ahead of you will be able to communicate with you, oversee, and guide you through. Leadership is a language you learn through practice. The more you use it, the more fluent you will become.
Do you think that some companies actually discourage leadership from people who are not yet in management positions?
I don't think organizations discourage it intentionally, but their culture sometimes does. Many companies reward compliance more than initiatives, if you do realize, right? You can't tell people to think like a leader, But at the same time, you penalize them, they say something wrong. People get afraid. So people now learn to play it safe instead of stepping up, instead of saying the wrong thing, right? So here's the truth. Leadership often starts before the company even recognize it. So think about this. When your room is dirty, do you wait for your mom to clean, or you simply just take up the responsibility and start cleaning? Do you wait for a title before you clean? Do you wait for your parents to declare you an adult before you start cleaning? That's leadership in its most simplest form. You take ownership, right? So it's the same as in organization. Organization notice those who take initiative early. So while culture plays a role, personal responsibility is where real leadership begins.
Why do you think so many capable professionals get overlooked when promotion season comes around?
So being good at your job doesn't mean you are seen as leadership material. So they are basically two different things. So many professionals work very hard, deliver results, and assume that translate into recognition automatically. Result doesn't speak for themselves as we think. But people do. If you are not visible, people will just admire your work from afar and then promote someone else with leadership potential. It will just skip you entirely. So competence alone doesn't guarantee visibility. You need to actively go out there and communicate your competencies at a level which you can also influence competency in your teammates. That is why in my bootcamp we focus not only on skills but your presence. You need to start shaping how people experience you long before your promotion season starts.
What is this uncomfortable truth that you will say to most employees that never become recognized as leaders, even though they work super hard?
The uncomfortable truth is that hard work alone doesn't make you visible. Many professionals are busy proving that they have competency, they can do the work, but they forget to show that they can lead. They stay in the comfort of, I call this the cone of execution, right? And they never break through into the outside world of influence. If you sit quietly in your passenger seat and hoping that someone will notice that you can drive too, that's not going to happen. You got to actively reach out for the wheel and say, hey, let me show you I can do it better, maybe, or more efficiently, maybe, or maybe even show that I can coach someone to drive in a certain way. That's where you activate, that signal where you'll be discovered, right? So the reality is people don't get promoted for maintaining the system so damn well. They promote someone who creates impact and influence the future.
With AI and automations changing the workplace currently, what kind of leadership will still matter in the next decade?
The kind that will make us more human, not less. I've seen how technology make work a lot more efficient and less demanding on us. However, it also drives us more distant. So that's why the kind of leadership that matters most in the next decade will be human leadership, I call it, okay? The kind that reconnects people back again. So AI can process data, large amount of data that, we can't fight with them. But one thing it can't do is to create trust, right? It can automate tasks so well, but it cannot build relationships. Yeah, not even with their own systems. The best leaders will be the ones that can bring clarity to where there is noise and connection where there's distance. So technology might change the way we work, but leadership will always define the way we work.
How is leadership in 2025 now different from leadership 10 years ago?
So because leadership has been changing since the day humans discovered its presence, right? So in every era, the idea of leadership reflects what people needs at that time. There was a period when leadership means authority, a strong single voice that gives you direction. Yeah, then it later shift towards expertise, the person with the skills. Yeah, then in modern times, leadership has shifted. Right? Shifted to become something even deeper. What we understand today is in a workplace that is so global, so diverse, and digitally connected, but yet we are so emotionally distant. People no longer follow titles or seniority, so they follow trust, clarity, and authenticity. So these are big words you need to create in that environment as a leader. So it really isn't about command in this day and age. It's really about connection. It's about creating that safety, that belongingness, that alignment in always changing environment.
What trends do you see among professionals in Singapore and maybe Asia who are trying to stand out in competitive organization workplaces?
So I'm seeing a very interesting shift right here. In Singapore and across Asia, professionals are realizing that competency alone would not set them apart. So to be distinct and to be different, they are seeing that some form of visibility is important. So for a long time, many of us are raised to believe that keeping our heads down, letting our results, produce, and those will speak itself for who we are as workers, right? So the new generation of professionals in Asia are starting to redefine, okay, especially in terms of leadership-wise. They are not copying our Western counterparts. In fact, we are building our own very grounded, rational, and very quiet, confident kind of leadership that we have in our society. I call it very beautiful evolution. We are really learning to be visible without being seen as very loud, and without losing humility in this case.
If you could redesign the leadership culture in workplaces today, what would that look like?
I like to discuss with my participants a lot. So it's a process which I will start first of all to dismantle the mindset that organization can only have a few leaders. I think that is bullshit, it's rubbish. Okay, leadership isn't limited resources. Yeah, it's an expanding one in any organization, right? Every project, every challenge, right? Every change initiative requires someone to drive. So in a healthy culture, leadership basically moves things. It shifts from person to person, where it depends on the situation, right? Where you might be leading today and you find that tomorrow I'm following someone else lead in that change initiative. Yeah. So when everyone feels responsible for progress, not just yourself or not just one or two person, now you create a culture that is adaptive, that's alive and transformable. It's really unstoppable. So if I could redesign the leadership culture, I will make leadership everybody's job. Because the future don't need more bosses. It needs more people who are leading to lead where it matters.
Who is your ideal participant for the bootcamp and what kind of mindset shift do you want them to walk away with?
So my bootcamp isn't for everyone. So, and I would like to say that if you're comfortable being in a cog in the wheel, hiding behind processes, stay behind the curtain and do the work, and hopefully someone will notice, I would say this is really not for you. The bootcamp is really meant for people who are capable but unseen, unheard, and all ready to take on ownership and responsibility. So the mindset shift is to stop seeing themselves as employee and start seeing themselves as leaders. People who can move ideas, people who shape changes and inspire others without having a title. Because in every organization, there's always one leader to fill.
You have written this book called Lead From Anywhere You Are. What do you hope your book will change about how people see leadership?
So I hope it changed the myth that leadership is reserved for a few. Too many people are still having the mindset that they're waiting for a promotion, that title to come, to arrive and drop from the sky, then they can step up. Really, my book is written to challenge their mindset and also to awake and invite for you to rediscover and to notice that in the quiet spaces within you, leadership already resides. So it's about how you bring out that signal, we call it an energy, that you can then actively radiate out to influence people for the better and let them see a better version of yourself. And that's where leadership really resides. Okay, so it's not just another theory book. It's a practical guide where the framework is written for you to be able to take it away and start practicing it the next day. It helps people see that leadership is not something that you are born with, but rather it's something that you have awakened and you choose to take on.
What advice would you give someone who keeps getting not promoted and they don't understand why?
So first of all, I don't try to jump to the conclusion that you're not good enough. Often it's not about competence, it's really about perception. So many professionals deliver great results, but they sit quietly in the background. So of course, nobody see that you can lead, of course. You don't demonstrate that leadership qualities that you have. And that is why people don't suggest you for promotion. You don't get put on the promotion board. On the other hand, there is another group of students that I have think that being visible is good. So they try too hard, where it really backfires. So people mistake visibility for being loud, where being in the spotlight may not be necessarily good. So in by and large, it becomes very artificial, and that also sets you back in terms of promotion. So if you are skipped for promotion, don't just work harder, right? Don't just shout louder, but learn to show up with presence, small little actions, and allow people to see your ability to lead, not just to perform.
What's one practical thing that anyone can do tomorrow to start leading better from where they are?
Start by paying attention, being present, right, to yourself and to others. Leadership begins with awareness. Tomorrow, instead of rushing through your routine, pause and notice your actions actually affect people's emotion. How you speak in a meeting, how you listen, and how you respond when things go wrong, all package up to be your leadership brand. If you want something concrete, take the initiative where you normally wouldn't. Okay? Offer to solve a problem, clarify problem ahead for the team, or start a conversation which others are avoiding. So leadership doesn't start with authority, it starts with action and taking initiative.
So that's all the questions that we have for episode 112. Stay tuned for episode 113.